Hello and welcome to D20 Woodworking, and today we are doing a review of Shadowcat, the other hero in Marvel Champions Mutant Genesis campaign box, right? So we're going to go a bit through Shadowcat, kind of talking a bit about her cards and then kind of my overall thoughts on her. But first, if you want to do me a huge favor to help out this channel, scroll down a bit, hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment, your thoughts about Shadowcat. Always interested in hearing what other people think about her. And also, if you want to support this channel, make sure to either hit the join button where there's different tier memberships starting at 99 cents, or you can head over to patreon.com/D20 Woodworking and you can support me over there if you so choose. So let's jump over and let's go check out her cards. All right, so first we have the Kitty Pride side. 3 cost recovery. She has a 6 hand size, 9 life. The setup is put your mass form upgrade into place, solid side face up. And you have an action, flip your mass form upgrade, limit once per round, which is pretty nice that you can kind of flip this. So let's check out her hero side. Shadowcat, 2/2/2 hero, which is always cool. 5 hand size, 9 hit points. When you are in phased mass form, right, the opposite of solid, Shadowcat ignores guard, patrol, keywords, and any crisis icons in play. Cool. I'll mention really quick that when we did a preview of her, and I feel like when most people, this is what we focused on, was this selective intangibility. And we looked at this and went, yeah, it's cool, right? It's kind of situational. It's interesting. It's neat, but it's like nothing amazing. But, I guess that's fine. Whatever, right? That's I feel like what we mainly looked at. It's not what we should have been looking at. Okay, so the mass form solid is a permanent hero resource. Exhaust this card to generate a fist resource for an attack or defense event, which is pretty cool, right? As a resource generator. Response. After you attack or defend in solid mass form, flip this card. It's not a forced response. You can choose when to do this, which is nice. All right, so the other side of this is phase. It's mass form permanent. While Shadowcat is defending, she cannot take damage. That's huge. We all kind of like glanced over this, I feel like, the first time. Force response, after you attack or defend in phase mass form, flip this card over. One thing I need to point out, she's grossly good in protection because you can play a defense event card, right? A cheap defense event card. It could be any of them. And it counts as her defending, right? So you don't actually have to exhaust your hero and she will not take damage because you are now a defender. That's what the rules state currently. Now, maybe they change that in the future, but as of now, that's allowed, and that's kind of insane, right? So if you have just the villain attack, you just play a cheap defense event, you don't take any hit. You take no damage from it whatsoever. Now, you do have to flip this over to the solid side, which, okay, so now if there's a, let's say another minion attacking you or something like that, what you could do is play another cheap defense card, right? Use this resource generator, exhaust this, play that card. Let's say it's a, defense card that gives you +2 defense and lets you ready up. You can get 4 defense. Most likely, the minion's not going to damage you, and then you get to ready up at the end of it, right? Desperate defense is what I'm thinking of. You can play like a desperate defense. That's kind of nuts, right? Protection, like with her, is really good. I know they came out with her in aggression. Protection, I think, is where she shines, to be honest. But we'll get into more of that later. But this whole phase thing that forces you after you attack and defend to flip versus this is an option. I think it's kind of cool. It makes you plan out your turns a bit more. And I think it's really, really neat. All right, so Lockheed is a 2-cost ally, a 1/1/2. After Lockheed enters play, if you're in solid mass form, deal 2 damage to an enemy. Phase mass form, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Again, this is cool. That makes you think out your turn a little bit more. Like, okay, do I want to be in solid when I play him, or do I want to be in phase when I play him? Right? You have to kind of think this through and what you want to do. I like this mechanic. I think anything that gives you options like this is pretty cool. So. All right, Kitty's Room, 1-cost support. It's an alter ego action. Exhaust Kitty's Room. If you are in solid mass form, you heal 2 damage. Phase mass form, draw a card. Pretty nice. I use this like half the time. I feel like it's also a way that there's a lot of cards out there that get rid of like your lowest cost support or whatever, or get rid of a support you choose. I like to do this to just like kind of throw this out there. Yes, it's nice to draw a card when you're an alter ego. Yes, it's nice to heal if something went awry and you took a lot of damage. All that's really nice. So I think it's overall a really good card, but it's also nice to kind of just be able to put a cheap support out there and just get rid of it if you need to. All right, Acute Control is a 1-cost upgrade superpower. Again, we talked about this before with Colossus, but the superpower trait shows up a lot. Make Death Focus really good in her deck. All right, so hero response. After you ignore the guard or patrol keyword on a minion, exhaust Acute Control, deal 2 damage to that minion, which is nuts, right? Like, you can just go do the damage or go thwart somewhere else, right? Going around that minion, and you get free damage on that minion as long as you're in phase, right? You have to be phased in order to ignore that stuff. So again, you're planning out your turn like, okay, I'm going to be on the phase side. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a Q. It's going to work out well, hopefully. I think that's really cool. I think it's a really cool way in which that works. And basically gives you a free attack, right? Because she normally does 2 damage, so it gives you that free attack. I really like this card. I was using it especially. Now, again, they have to have the guard or patrol keyword. You can't just willy-nilly use it. But it is nice that is there and lets you get around it. So on the flip side of that, there's another 1-cost upgrade with intangible interference. After you ignore a crisis icon on a scheme, exhaust intangible interference, remove 2 threat from a scheme, which is nice too, right? You can still thwart the main scheme, but you also start working on that one too, either for your allies or for other people at the table, right? I think that's pretty cool, especially as a 1-cost upgrade. It's being able to do her thwart twice essentially, right? Her normal 2 onto a main or onto the main, and then this 2 onto a crisis icon. I think these 2 upgrades are really good. I think they're pretty powerful when you get them out there. All right, Phased and Confused is a 3-cost upgrade. Hero form only attached to an enemy. Max 1 per enemy. When this enemy would attack, discard this card instead, then confuse that enemy. Now, obviously on minions, this is really nice, or on villains without stalwart or steady. This is really nice that you could basically stop them from attacking and then flip down and then they're confused, right? Really, really nice card to have for 3 costs. What I also like this for is even with an enemy that has stalwart or steady, right? It just says that when the attached enemy would attack, discard this card instead. They can't stop that yet, right? Because it's not a stun. They're discarding this card instead. So it's a way to get around stalwart and or steady, which for 3 costs is really, really good, right? Like you picture like a Thanos or something like that, or a lot of these expert heroes that have stalwart steady. This is a card that lets you get around that, which I think is really, really cool and really helpful. So I really like this card. It doesn't get played all the time, but I think especially when you time it right, it can be really good and really, really useful, especially for some of those harder villains. So 2 of them in the deck. All right, Shadowcat Surprise is a 2-cost event. You deal 3 damage to enemy and ready your hero. The 3 damage is cool. It's fun. It's fine. The big thing here is readying your hero, right? It's so nice to be able to attack for 2, let's say, use this card to deal 3 damage and attack for another 2, right? Or which is up to 7 damage for, I know it's not, 2 for 7, but like, yeah, the math. Or you can thwart for 4, essentially, right? If you're trying to get rid of a bunch of thwarting, that's nice too. And you could get some damage in here. Shadowcat Surprise was a really good card. I really like this card. And there's 3 of them in the deck. Phase Strike. This is a card I didn't use as much as I thought I was going to. It's a 3-cost event. You deal 6 damage to your enemy. If you're in phase mass form, you may discard an attachment with the text hero action or hero response from that enemy. Now, obviously, if you have an attachment card that has that text on it, this is more helpful. For me, those cards, yes, while they come out a couple times every game now and again, or whatever, it's not that often. So I kind of use this as a weird way of just like if I needed like one big hit, I would use it, but 3 for 6 to me isn't 100% worth it. You have to use the rest of this. I'd rather use a 2 cost for 3 damage and then be able to like ready myself up. To me, that's more valuable in general. Again, it's not a bad card. I just think just 3 for 6 is expensive, but if you can discard an attachment, then it's definitely worth it. Airwalk is a 1-cost event, superpower still. So hero action, remove 2 threat from a scheme, 4 instead of you're in phase. Using this 1 for 4, I've used it a bunch of times, was really nice. And again, if you're in phase, right, you can get around crisis icons. It's a great way that when a crisis icon's on a side scheme, you can use this card in phase form to get around that, to do off the main. Super nice, like super, super nice. I really like this card. This is a super powerful card for Shadowcat. And you get 2 of them in there. Quick Shift is dirty. It's a 0-cost event. It's a defense card. And when an enemy attacks, if you're in solid mass form, change the phase. If you're in phase mass form, draw a card. Now, we talked before that when you're in phase form and use a defense event card, it counts as a block, which is what's awesome about this, right? If you're in solid, you use this card, it switches you to phase form. You get your free block. You don't have to exhaust. You won't take any damage because you use defense event card. And then you would flip back down to solid. Or if you're already in the phase form, now you get to draw 2 cards and you still get the block, right? It's a 0-cost event to basically get all damage negated from you. It's really strong. It's really, really cool. I really like this card. It's super powerful. There's 2 of them in the deck. Be nice if there was a lot more. But she'd probably be too OP at that point. So let's talk about permanently phase. Flip your mass form upgrade to phase. You cannot attack, defend, or change mass form, which gets you stuck. It's not the worst thing in the world because you can still thwart, which is nice. But you do get to kind of stuck, right, in phase, which isn't always ideal, right? It takes away your resource generator. But and again, you can't attack or defend. So her whole like shtick of like you defend when you're in phase form and take no damage, you can't really do that, right? But you can thwart if still needed, which is kind of nice, which helps you flip back down to exhaust Kitty later on. So this card isn't terrible. White Queen is though. White Queen is a 1/1/5 villainous. While White Queen is engaged with you, you are confused. I saw that this confused some people. And again, it's kind of worded weird. So as long as she's in there, you will always be confused. So you can no longer thwart, essentially, right? You cannot thwart. Now, if she was in play and you are confused, right, and she gets removed from play, you're still confused until you clear it, right? From my understanding of this card, at least, you are still confused. It's not. It's like it just keeps putting like a confused status card is how I think of it on her. So every single round, I check if she's in there. She is. I confuse myself. If I eliminate her, I still have the confused status card, right? So it's you can clear the confused and then use things to thwart out, I believe. Maybe not. Maybe that's not even how that works. But anyway, I just know the one thing that tripped a lot of people up is that you can is that basically when she leaves, are you not confused then? No, you would still be confused because it's a status, right? So you still have to clear it out. So White Queen is terrible. Okay, so the Hellfire Club comes in with 2 threat acceleration. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme searches the encounter deck, discard upon set aside area for a copy of Hellfire pawn minion and puts them in play. Engage with them. Okay, what's that? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, a guard, patrol, and surge, and it's put into play, right? So since it's put into play and not revealed, surge won't activate, which is the one nice thing. But guard and patrol kind of stinks, so you have to make sure you're on phase side to deal with them. They're not the worst thing in the world, but they are a pain to deal with. And then telepathic restraint. Attach your identity. When telepathic restraints attach your identity, you are stunned, which is like the opposite of White Queen, right? Which really stinks. Spend 2 science resources to discard this card. Her Nemesis is rough. Like when White Queen comes out, it's a really rough time. It is not fun or enjoyable. So yeah, that kind of stinks. But all right, let's go talk a bit about Kitty and my thoughts on her. All right, so I feel like Kitty Pryde is my sleeper hit. She's one of the heroes that, again, I wrote off as kind of this knockoff to Vision, right? With the phase and solid forms. And we were so focused, I feel like, and I know I mentioned this before, but we were so focused on her hero ability where while you're in phase mass form, Shadowcat ignores guard and patrol keywords and crisis icons. And we saw it as like, oh yeah, that's kind of nice, but not super powerful, whatever. And we should have been paying attention to her upgrades of solid mass form and phase mass form. That's what we should have been paying attention to, because the way that works, that mechanic is a lot of fun, right? The one side forces you and the other side doesn't. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool. It puts up interesting situations. It lets her just like be so powerful. I'm sorry. She's really powerful. The fact that you can, if you time everything right, you can keep not taking damage, right? And getting back to your phase form so you can keep not taking damage. The timing thing is a bit of a, not a pain, but is a thing you kind of pay attention to like make sure that, you know, it is working well for you. But man, it's strong. It's really, really good. Her in protection is really strong. Her aggression is pretty good too. Justice, I don't really care for Injustice because it doesn't work well with her whole flipping thing. I like to have the attack or defense cards in my hand so that it helps flip mass forms when I need them to. Ready to Rumble is really strong, right? Because when you switch forms, right, from mass form, that's switching forms, right? Switching from solid to phase, you can ready up Shadowcat, right? Ready to Rumble is really strong. Cards that do anything that switch forms, it's really strong with her too. Yeah, I'm a fan. Like I said, I don't like her in Justice. I don't think she works that well in Justice, or at least not for me. Leadership, I did it once. I didn't really enjoy it. But for me, aggression and protection are 2 best aspects. She's definitely my surprise hit. Now again, if you get stuck in the wrong phase, that part kind of stinks. When you get too many minions out there, that gets kind of rough, right? Like I don't love that. There were times I had like 3 or 4 minions out there, and unless you have a decent amount of allies, it feels you get kind of overwhelmed, and she can kind of get overwhelmed a bit. I feel like White Queen is terrible. Right, an absolutely terrible Nemesis. I really hate her. It's not the worst one, but I really hated getting her. They were rough. But yeah, I really enjoy Shadowcat. Shadowcat I thought was a lot of fun, really enjoyable. And I've been doing my playthrough the campaign with her, and it's fun. It's interesting. It's cool. I like her mechanics. I see her sticking around for a long time because I really enjoyed Shadowcat a lot more than I thought I would. I was pleasantly surprised. So anyway, like I said, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts of her are. I'm always interested in hearing that. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.